All right. Okay. So now that the stream actually is capable of starting, let's actually get started.
Yeah, you sure?
Discord. Do you Oh
Is
no,
is
this
this
packet
is this
loss rate of 35%. Ah, I see. Very interesting.
uh why?
I don't know. I can swap the server's audio over
Uh
to central. All right, that should theoretically fix it.
theoretically.
All right, can you
Oh,
hear me, Max?
I can hear you fine. Are you
Excellent. Yep, you're
here?
coming in just fine, and there's no packet loss, so I guess it's just the Eastern thing going on. All right, hello, Internet. This is Fanfiction Contempt Theater 9003, episode 77. Um, let's see,
God,
it
we've
is streaming, yes, yes. Okay, we are.
been doing this for so long.
What is that? Yeah,
We've been doing this for so long.
yeah. We have been doing this for quite some time. Is there anywhere you're going with that, or
No, just we've been doing it for so long, and this is not at all what we'd initially planned. And then life came in like a ton of bricks.
yes? Why are you Streamlabs? Yeah, you're visible.
What? What's wrong?
Fuck. I little fucking shits popping up on my Twitch side. Not my OBS side, but on the Twitch side. It's like little apps and shit. And like, I don't know. It says add to my channel, but I've already added it to the channel. What? Build the extension? What? I don't
I
understand any of this shit. I don't. What?
I think you should just
It's been added. It it literally says configure or uninstall, so I don't know why it's saying add this to the. I'm just confused. I'm just gonna keep going. I'm gonna pretend that we totally know what we're doing and just keep going from here. Oh, so how's chat doing tonight? Is there anyone in chat to even be doing? No, no, there's no one in chat to even be doing. Unfortunate. There is no chat
well,
tonight. It is just us, Max.
I mean, we always knew that the fans are fickle.
I know.
If we can call them fans,
No, I don't think we
can
can
we
call
call
them
them?
fans.
Okay.
No. Because fans actually show up. We're lucky to get 3 people on the best of days in a Discord filled that's entire purpose is supposed to be coming to this podcast. We have a Discord of like 90 some people, and about 3 of them show up.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It's because you keep bringing the fucking weirdos and dickheads.
okay, well, they're the only ones that show up.
Yeah, I know, because you've let them scare all the sane people off.
We lost all the sane people long before I started letting guest stars on. The whole reason why I started letting guest stars on
No,
was
Sneaky,
because we didn't get people.
I'm talking about the people in the chat itself.
That's what I'm saying.
Not the guest stars. No, never mind.
The people that are guest starring are the crazies in chat.
Yeah, I know, but they were on the server before that, and so the same people got scared off because we have a
Again,
very, very lax policy here.
I mean, yes, but again, the reason why I even brought them on in the first place, because I brought them from other servers, was because people stopped showing up.
Yes,
What the
I
fuck
don't know
is
if
this
this.
shit? Did
I
you
don't know
just
if we're having
post?
two different things again or not.
Oh God, fucking Christ, Max.
It's not wrong.
You're saying that I let people say shit in my chat, and so that's why all the normal people got up and left.
Okay.
I'm saying I'm letting them say shit in chat because all the normal people got up and left, and they're the only ones that show up.
Yes, I know. I feel like we're having two conversations. We're aware of what the other is saying, but we're not meeting in the middle, if that makes sense.
I
I'm
have
having
no
conversation A, you're having conversation B, and
I
conversation
have no
C
idea what your
is
point is.
confusion.
I have no idea what your
My
point is.
point is that we lost the sane people,
Right.
and you decided, well, fuck it, we'll go full anarchy, which further drives sane people even further away because they see the stream like, yeah, no, I'll pass.
Okay,
Used to
well,
be we could trick them into the Discord before they ran.
funny.
Now we can't even do that.
Well, it's just again, it's like why fucking bother imposing order if no one's gonna fucking even show up to make it worthwhile.
I don't think it helps matters that the mod team is you, me, Atin, and Nose. You and I are very much laid back. Atin has a job and is in a few other servers, and I don't even know what Nose does half the time aside from deal
Masturbate,
with shitty tenants.
hug bags of Doritos and masturbate probably. So, because it is just gonna be me and you tonight,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like our first fic should be something that the two of us have done.
Oh. Am I gonna have to knock off some rust?
There we go. Okay.
What is this? Under a pale, shattered moons. This
Let's
is
actually
Ruby
make that a little bit.
Bloodborne.
Well, now that I have that up, let's make that a little bit smaller. Block that. Get on that. Right there. There we go. That's perfect. Yep, under a pale, shattered moon. So you know the story's good when the author can't even bother to capitalize it.
Oh my god, you're right. That just clicked. Under a bucket shattered moon. Oh
Yep.
boy. That
Can't even bother to capitalize it.
can pale. Yeah, alright, that's
Yep. So anyway, this is a Ruby Bloodborne crossover. Under a pale, shattered moon. An
yeah.
escape tactic gone wrong leaves Abel Iscariot, the good hunter, and his doll waking up in a strange world with an even stranger moon. The hunter's dream might have faded and the hunt ended, but finding one's worth. But finding one's. You're missing an apostrophe there. One's worth in the waking world is harder than it seems. Um, Honestly, I don't know why we don't see more Bloodborne Ruby crosses that are like the dream ends and, you know, characters from Bloodborne end up in Ruby. That were in the dream, of course, obviously, not Yarnum. Um, End up in Ruby because the moon was shattered. And it was like a sort of delay effect, you know?
Hmm.
But it's just, you know, it's whatever, you know. It's just an idea. I am curious how a escape tactic gone wrong ends up with the doll waking up in Ruby. Um, Blah 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 blah, disclaimers, blah blah. While he technically counts as an original character, Abel Iscariot will most definitely follow along the same plot development every character in Bloodborne follows. Okay, fair enough. That still means they're an original character. There is no canon character for the Bloodborne or any of the Souls
Uh,
series.
yeah, no. The
There's
only thing that
yeah,
is canon about characters is usually whatever the cover art is. That's what the official character wears as their preferred set.
right,
That's
pretty
about as
much.
far as it gets. Their Oscar's the closest thing we see to a canon character in Dark Souls, for example.
Fair enough.
And then we get the Prepare to Die edition, and it's very clearly Artorias going into the abyss.
True. I have.
Then there's
Hmm?
Dark Souls 2. I forget the armor name all the time, even though it's like the best armor design in that fucking game. With the fur cloak.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, that was
Like,
actually pretty good. I will give him that. Yeah.
I will always remember its design, but I will always forget its name.
You know what? I don't even know how does Streamlabs. Yeah, I think Streamlabs actually is like hooked into my Twitch. Oh, I guess we'll never test it. It was just an errant thought of mine. Anyway, so yeah. Anyway, I have seen a few of these crossovers popping up, and I thought to try my hand at it. My other stories will be updated as my muse comes to me. That's never a good sign, as I have a difficult time focusing on just one thing. That's terrible. Honestly, that is usually not a good sign in authors. Like I know a couple authors that are capable of alternating their focus, specifically not to burn out. But typically, I've seen from authors that just go like, "Oh, well, this is what I want to write now. Oh, well, this is what I want to write now." Don't tend to have the best long-term planning for their stories. And usually that means the story dies. Because the author eventually hits a point where they're like, I have no idea what I'm doing. How do I get out of this situation? And then it just becomes too much work, and they're just like, I no longer want to write this story, and then it dies. So that's life. That's how the story goes. The only story that is still up in the air currently is Naruto no Entan. And that is because I screwed up making Naruto too powerful, too young.
Nice.
Yep. As a majority of Naruto stories suffer from, where they're like, oh well, this change happened when Naruto was 6, so and he gets really powerful really quickly because I don't know what power scaling is, and because he just trained super hard, and because he got access to shadow clones, and they just made 10 bajillion, and now he's like literally Kage level, and he hasn't even graduated from the student academy yet. Whoops. This crossover shall have no Naruto elements every other one of my stories has. So expect a departure from the standard plot that I have in my stories. That does not give me good feelings. Naruto Final Fantasy Ruby, Ruby Destiny, Persona High School DxD, Ruby Bloodborne, Persona Ruby, Ruby Bloodborne.
I'm sorry. Oh.
He
Oh, you,
has only a single Naruto story, but apparently every single one of his stories has elements from Naruto in it. Only one story is listed with Naruto.
yes. I see. Why is Madara the
Madara
oh,
times Naruto? What the fuck?
it's a female Madara.
Madara Uchiha had been a proud leader for the Uchiha many years, guiding them conflict, blah blah blah. A recent lull in the war, and a glimpse of the inevitable, and a recently wounded blonde drove that fact home. She wasn't planning to become obsessed with an Uzumaki. Okay. First off, why the fuck is Naruto back in the Warring Clans era?
Yeah, that's always a good question to ask.
Okay,
Yes.
so Tis for Mina was an excellent story, which is where Naruto ended up being sent back in time to the Warring
Hmm.
Clans era.
Okay.
Uh, and it, by the name, Naruto also ended up in not Naruto's body. Also, not him is not a him anymore. If you catch what I'm saying.
Yep. Okay.
And basically, it was Naruto, a mix of Naruto being like, ah, shit. It was Hokage Naruto as well. So, post Naruto Shippuden. Naruto's like, ah, shit. I'm back in time. I better not change anything too much to fuck it all up. But also was like, ah, well, I'm not gonna not teach them how sanitation works. I'm not gonna let them starve. Oh, I'm not gonna let them, die from this wound that I know how to fix.
All right. Yeah, that sounds like Naruto.
And that's basically just the story is Naruto being like, hi, I'm Naruto in the Warring Clans era. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine.
This does not sound like that story. This really does not
No.
sound like that. This sounds like a story where Naruto is in the Warring Clans era, not a Naruto being sent to the Warring Clans era. Which
Nah, I'm sure it's fine.
I have to know now.
Do you?
I do.
Are we gonna queue that up, or are we just gonna skip?
Let's see. Oh wait, hold on. Yep. Okay, it is sending. Okay, yeah, he was sent back in time.
Which is the smart thing to do whenever
Yep.
you're
It
like, I'm gonna
definitely.
have this interaction.
Okay, it looks like it's actually also a post Shippuden Naruto, and him and Sasuke were fighting. Yep. Okay.
Sasuke pulled the coward's way out and sent him back in time, huh?
Yeah. Now my only issue with that premise is that specific fight ended with Naruto so wounded it was only by the fact that Tsunade and Sakura were both alive and there and masters of healing techniques that saved him. And in the end, they couldn't save his arm. That's combined with the fact that he is the Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails and an Uzumaki. And it's just like,
Hmm.
I don't think anyone in the Warring Clans era has that level of healing technique. Or that much willingness to help a stranger. Because, Warring Clans.
Yeah. Hashirama might be for it, but that's because he's a monster who can do that.
Who can God mode yeah, pretty
It's
much.
like, I'm gonna take care of you. Why? Because if you betray me, I can stomp you into the dirt.
So I am literally so much more powerful than you that it is hilarious if you think you pose a threat to me. Uh, we're gonna have to look the rest of this author's stuff after this because
We really don't have to.
no, we
Don't have.
definitely have to.
Oh boy.
Absolutely mandatory.
Why do you do this to us?
Hmm. No, because I'm sad and lonely. That's why. Hello,
We'll get
Pedro.
you a hamster.
Big oof. Biggest of oof. Though I will say, that just reminded me. We did just finish, our next chapter. And we're getting that beta read right now, so we're gonna be posting that soon. So that's very cool. And we have like a quarter of the next chapter done as well. So that's also very cool. There's a You know how I dislike when we tried to write stories when the lore was actively being updated because of the game coming out?
Which game?
Dark Souls, in this instance.
It wasn't really all that bad because a lot of our theories
Ended
were,
up panning out, yes.
yeah.
But I don't like the general idea. Yeah.
In our defense, we didn't realize Dark Souls 3 was in the works at the time.
Um.
Dark Souls 2, in fact, kind
Right.
of came out of nowhere because Dark Souls 1 was very much a wrapped ending.
Yeah. Didn't they like it became a cult classic, and then they announced the sequel? Less announced and more released.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
Spicy
like,
Liquid
hey
Fund.
guys, Dark Souls 2 was announced like 3 months prior to its release. I think like we're sending out closed beta network test codes. It's like, oh, okay.
Spicy
Just
Liquid
came.
Fund. It's the money I need to buy my spicy liquid.
Don't support him. Don't give him.
Definitely support me, dude.
Don't give him that money.
I'll even go
There.
down to Atlanta and share my 145 proof spicy liquid with you, Max.
That's not happening, and you know it.
What, me acquiring the liquid or going to Atlanta?
Yes.
That's fair. Which spicy liquid? The spiciest of liquids. As per Twitch guidelines, I'm not allowed to be more specific than that. After all, I could just be gathering money to buy a 12-pack of ghost pepper hot sauce, as I have in the past. Ghost pepper hot sauce. Tasty. Also very hot. But yeah, no, so yeah, the story I'm currently writing is unfortunately we didn't like we sort of knew that the sequel was going to be around death, you know, and all the stuff involved in death for that fandom. But we didn't know that a faction that had pretty much been wrapped up in a previous expansion was going to be a focus of it in terms of lore expansion. And a major focus of it, actually, in terms of lore expansion. And so now that we're writing a story where the main component is this faction that we thought was wrapped up, and now it's like with every fucking week that passes, more lore gets revealed, changing what we thought we knew about this faction. And it's just like, God fucking damn it. We're in the middle of writing this story. Where's Potatoes when you need him? That's you should ping him. See what's going on. Anyway, a loud groan filled the air as blood splattered against the pale flowers, filling the once beautiful clearing surrounded by tombstones. An elderly gentleman wielding a vicious-looking scythe with strange etchings held the bladed weapon close to the armored neck of a man kneeling before him. That's a very long sentence. The kneeling figure, this is still the same sentence, by the way. The kneeling figure grasping the rather deep wound, threatening to remove his right arm cleanly from his body. Okay, look, hold on.
This is the Naruto one, right?
This is the Ruby Bloodborne.
Oh, okay, just making sure.
Yeah. I have a problem with this already. If your arm has been wounded enough that it might fall off, your arm's gonna fall off. Like, I hate to break it to you, but if whatever wound you just took cut through the bone, that's pretty much it. That's not like a wound
Yeah.
anymore. That's basically just like, you know, when you cut chicken and you had that little bit of chicken left that you didn't quite get on that first cut. That's what your arm is.
Yeah,
That's
you're.
that's not a wound anymore. That's
I can't-
delimbing.
Well, alright, fair enough.
Also, I'm not really sure you're supposed to be grasping at that wound. Because it's like your arm's fucking dangling by a thread and you're just like, what, grabbing the thread? Have some spicy liquid money? Oh, I appreciate the donation, but it didn't do anything. Fucking. Why it be like this? Streamlabs, why do you do what you do? I thought we had an agreement here. Yes. Okay. Streamlabs, why do you your setup is incomplete. You still need to finish your extension for it to work properly. What do you mean, my setup? Complete setup. What? I
Use your words.
um I don't know what I'm supposed to be looking at. I I don't know. It's supposed to update when I get the money, but it's not doing the update. No donation, still money. I know it's not a donation, but I still get that money from Twitch.
Eventually.
Yeah, technically speaking, but it's supposed to be added by Streamlabs unless it only operates off of donations. That should be a little bit weird. Donation history? I just God, I'm such a fucking boomer, man. I don't know about this shit, okay? Oh god, I just don't know about any of this shit. It's so fucking complicated looking and sounding. I don't know. Maybe it only works with donations. I don't know this shit. The reason why I haven't had Streamlabs for so long is not because it's like, oh, I'm lazy and I don't want to change over to it or something. I have no problem importing all the settings. I just don't understand this shit.
Yeah,
It goes
that
all
sounds
over my
like
head.
you.
Just goes all over my head, and I'm just looking at it like, what the fuck is half this shit? I don't understand. Why can't shit be like clearly labeled? Like I go to the tips page and it's like customize your tips page here. It's like no, I just wanted to look at my tips. Where do I have to go to look at the tips? Oh, donation history. Oh, that's not it either because that doesn't count subs. It's like okay, well, that's fair enough. Then what does count subs? I don't know. I can't fucking find this shit. When I click on the Streamlabs thing, it tells me to tell you to go to the link. Oh, so you can see that. Is that like something that's popping up on your screen? Is that what that's doing? I blocked the link. You'll have to. Okay, so it tells you to go there.
This is far more difficult than it should be.
What? Wait, why do I have to install the bits thing? What? What? I'm sorry. What is this bullshit? What is this fucking bullshit here? By installing the extension that lets me display donations, I entitle Streamlabs to 20% of my money?
Wait, what?
What fucking horse shit is that? Eat a dick, Streamlabs.
Hang on a second.
The extension developer is entitled to 20% of your money.
1 US cent per bit. That, but
Yeah, this makes no fucking sense. Bits are a part of Twitch. Why? This extension enables the use of bits. What?
wait, what? So how have you been receiving bits all this time?
Because Twitch put bits into its native platform. I fucking
What is this
Streamlabs is
even?
cancer.
What is this even for?
Says there's a new version of Streamlabs available. Look, I don't understand this fucking shit, okay? Look, I don't fucking understand this shit. It's too fucking complicated, okay? Until someone actually donates money to me, I'm not gonna bother trying to figure it out. That's not gonna fucking happen for a while. The kneeling man wore a black shawl-like cloak around his shoulders with silver mail-looking armor. Ah yes, mail-looking. It's because it's not actual mail, I assume. It only looks like mail. Clinging to his chest like a second skin. You don't want mail to cling to your chest.
That's painful.
The mail was unlike any other seen in the past ages. Deformed and remolded into slag by the extreme heat wielded by the keepers of the old ones. That degrades the mail. The mail only works the way it does because of its very precise construction. Only 3 more months of subscriptions until I get Hyper Eyes. Yeah, there you go. That's what you can look for. Hyper Eyes. His gauntlets and lower torso were covered in much the same fashion, with multiple leather belts. But wait, no, his chest wasn't covered with leather belts. His chest had mail on it. Wait, so his gauntlets and lower torso were covered like the mail of his chest, only this time instead of mail, it was leather belts crisscrossing everywhere. Okay. Each with either crimson vials or silver bullets hanging from their grasps. Oh.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Yeah, I can't find anything about grasps in terms of armor. I don't know what that means. Unless, like, his hips had actual hands. Which, I mean, it's Bloodborne, so maybe. I just don't... I don't understand what that... A light male skirt covered down to his knees, while black feather-like strips of cloth hung from beneath? Okay. There is no such thing as a male skirt, really. Usually you just get a really long male, and you just it's a continuous thing. You put a belt around it to attach it to yourself a little bit more securely. Um, that's what produces the skirt that protects your lower body. But it's not a separate piece. Putting on mail is actually a major bitch to do. Um, it's actually really not fun to put on and take off, especially the longer ones with the little flared skirt at the bottom. Um, I can't imagine how you would get a male skirt as like a separate thing. Uh, maybe if it was attached to like a leather belt. That's probably what it is. I just okay. Anyways, male skirt. His arms were covered in the same chainmail down to his elbows, where the vicious-looking gauntlets began. Why can't you just say his upper body had mail on it? Why is it like his shoulders had mail? That mail went down his arms until the mail didn't go down his arms anymore, and instead there was gauntlets on his hands. This description is just so weird. But he already said that his gauntlets were covered with leather belts, and then he started talking about the gauntlets again as if they were separate. Max, can you make sense of this?
Hang on, let me. Which part am I trying to make sense of here?
How apparently his gauntlets are leather belts that made of mail, and then it talks about his gauntlets aren't made of mail anymore.
From superheated ash from age.
Despite looking
What?
like, yeah, I don't.
I. He's not.
Yeah,
He's not describing a Dark Souls 3 set of armor, is he?
it's possible.
Because the next sentence about it being superheated ash makes me think he's trying to yank from Dark Souls 3. Poorly.
It's possible. Do you not recognize this armor from Bloodborne?
Black shawl like cloak, silver mail looking armor clinging to his chest. Smells. Flag. Not really. Not off the top of my head. I wasn't as big into Bloodborne as I was Dark Souls, though, so.
That's fair. Despite looking like metal, the silvery bits of his armor were actually created from superheated ash from an age before Abel was born, hidden in obscurity like the how do you pronounce that? The Thumerians?
Yeah, it's the Marians.
Thumerians?
Or
Okay.
Thumurians, I
Yeah.
think. Sorry, Thumurian.
And their chalices. 3 different leather pouches hung behind the wounded and kneeling figure. Are we still talking about the same person? Or where are they hanging? Are they hanging from a tree behind him? Oh, you mean they're hanging from his waist? So they aren't hanging behind him. They're hanging from him. Big difference. Massive difference, in fact, one might say. Filled to the brim with different combat-related tools. I'm not sure how many tools you can fit into 3 leather pouches. Just saying.
Well, carry a lot of throwing knives and a lot of pebbles.
Yeah, yes, you could. I'm just saying this. I remember there's quite a number of tools you could use in Bloodborne, and not many of them fit into a simple pouch. Bloodborne doesn't have mail. I have the platinum trophy for it. Fair enough.
No, I have the platinum trophy too. It's been a while since I've. Yeah, actually, there is one set of actual armor in the game, and it is
Oh.
nothing like what he described.
All right, fair enough. Alrighty
No.
then. Now that this author is OCing his armor with some seriously edgy shit, which makes no fucking sense, because earlier on he's calling it a silvery mail, saying it's been deformed and turned into slag. But then he goes on to say that actually the silver isn't silver, it's actually superheated ash, which makes no fucking sense, but fine, it's Bloodborne, whatever. But then, if the superheated ash was actually the male, then it deforming and turning into slag probably is worse than if it was silver doing that. Because I'm pretty sure if the
Okay.
ash is deforming and falling apart, that the male would just disintegrate. Because it's ash.
Okay, there are two, in the base game at least, there are
Yeah.
two actual sets of armor.
Okay.
One is the Gainhurst set,
Okay.
which, let me just grab this image. Hopefully this is a good enough image. And the other is the Bone Ash set.
Oh, it might be bone ash.
Don't know about that. Possible, but don't know about that.
Nope, that's it. That's what he's trying to describe. Yep, that's it. That's what he's trying to describe.
I wouldn't call the chess piece male. Is
No,
the problem?
no, I wouldn't. But I know that's what he's trying to describe because he talked about black feather-like strips of cloth coming from underneath the male skirt.
Yeah, well, it's also not like fantastic armor. Like what armor tends to adjust is very small in this game.
Mm-hmm.
This one, I don't think it was. Well, actually, no, it's second only to the Canehurst set in physical defense. I legit don't remember ever stumbling on this though.
Hmm. Well,
I have platinum, so I clearly found it at some point. But
Bone
yeah, you
Ash
know what?
isn't in the base game. It's from the old Hunter DLC.
Yeah, and I cleared everything in that too. I still do not remember that.
Anyway, so the
Wait,
author is clearly poorly
no,
describing
it's
this
not.
armor.
It's listed in the base set.
Oh, is it? Okay, well that's what Pedro
Hang
said.
on,
So.
I'm gonna double check that. But like, the Fextra life for
Hmm.
Bloodborne is usually really on top of it in separating base game stuff from the DLC.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. Alright, so we've clearly identified what armor the author is trying to describe and absolutely failing to do so.
Also, Sneaky, check out this Dark Souls 3 ass like mini boss right there. That concept art.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty. Can we get that bigger? Yeah, that's. So this is what the author is trying to describe, and
Uh,
I wouldn't call that. I wouldn't call that male.
no.
I can see where he might be getting mail from the skirt. But no, that doesn't really look like mail. Honestly,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah, no,
okay.
okay. C8, I now remember why I don't remember this. You have to beat you have to go through the Thermarian labyrinths and get it from the Insight vendor. And because I'd already committed to the Cainhurst set, I never looked at any other armor set except like, oh, this looks okay. That explains so much. It's one of the armor sets that you have to unlock in the labyrinth, which is just like, meh.
But so yeah, this is the oof man his descriptions are
Not great.
really not good. No. Um, I wouldn't. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I give credit where credit's due. He is working off of the Bloodborne, you know, model and with the limitations thereof. But even then, this is the effects for life
Well,
image for it.
C8, the
So that's over
labyrinth
here.
wasn't for farming, it was just extra content.
Yeah,
Uh,
apparently C8's dumb and didn't realize that.
yeah, there are entire pieces of lore hidden in the main labyrinths. There are two types of chalice dungeons. There are the ones that are considered like a subplot, essentially, where you will eventually fight the ancient Sumerian queen, and the other are procedurally generated with seeds. No, C8, you said you don't farm. Those labyrinths don't require farming. It doesn't matter what you're saying. You picked the wrong words. I,
That's completely different.
that's exploring. And I said you buy it from the Insight shop after beating one of the labyrinths.
Anyway, so this is what the author was trying to describe, and I'll give him credit where credit's due. He got the feather cloth bullshit going on. I wouldn't really call them feathers though. I understood what he meant when he said feathers, but looking at the concept art of it, that's definitely not feathers. That's definitely just a failing of the game model.
Yeah,
Especially
yeah,
when it
that's
comes to
supposed to.
describing,
Yeah, that looks
yeah,
like fraying.
yeah. When it
Like
comes to
right there.
describing armor sets, especially ones from games, I would personally recommend that people go to the concept art and not rely on in-game engine limitations for their armor descriptions.
C8, you're missing what I said. You don't find it, you unlock it in the Insight shop. You're not listening. When you beat the Central Labyrinth, you go to the Insight vendor, and there it's unlocked for you to buy. I. How many times must I say it?
At least three more, probably.
Ugh. I'll let you do it.
Okay, fair enough. Running out of rye. I need more rye, need more rye, need more rye, need more rye. Anyway, so I wouldn't call the chest mail. I would say it's definitely deformed, but wouldn't call that male. I wouldn't try and describe to someone as it being male. Um, would you say that's leather or cloth? I would say it's a lot of leather.
Uh,
The shoulders and whatnot. The shawl itself as well.
no, the way that wraps around him, I'd say that's
Cloth. Yeah,
probably a really heavy, that's probably a thick, heavy cloth.
that's fair. That's fair.
Like,
Yeah.
the skirting and like the thing under the shawl looks like it's like worn out leather. But the shawl itself looks like cloth.
Yeah, I honestly,
It's
it's a really hard to describe.
Yeah, well, it's because they did such a good job with the color.
Yeah. I mean, at best, you could have some sort of, like, plate or scale description for the
C8,
gauntlets.
C8. Never mind. Just this man's a disappointment as a
Yeah,
Bloodborne player,
continuously.
apparently.
Just absolute
Fucking
disappointment.
Insight becomes like candy by the mid game. Just picking it up all over the place.
Anyway.
Pure.
Yeah. Oh, fucking Christ, that burns. I really want to see what double the proof, how much that burns.
That's gonna be like half a shot, isn't it?
Oh, oh Jesus Christ, that's gonna be something. Oh, fucking 70% alcohol content. I would not call it silver either. Like, neither picture, even the in-game model, did not strike me as silvery. I would say a
Yeah.
burnt metal, a burnt steel look.
Or you could just go
Blackened.
with what? No, not even that. You can just go with what the art, what the flavor text is.
Oh, what's the flavor text?
It's just ashen form, white and sinewy.
Hmm.
You literally just describe it with the flavor text of like it's just the color of white ash.
Right, okay. Yeah, so I just we found the set that the author's talking about, and so far, I think the only accurate part of his description, and only accurate to the in-game model of the description, was the feather-like cloth from the skirt.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh god. Anyway, blah blah blah. Blah 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 does not blah blah blah. You must accept your death, Abel. Forget the hunt. It's over for you. Blah 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 blah. The kneeling man identified as Abel groaned before reaching into his leather pouch at his waist. Oh, so now they're at his waist. Before throwing powdered bone ash, and extra catalyst used to increase his Evelyn's power. Directly in.
Evelyn being a pistol, in case
I'm
you're
aware.
curious.
No, I know.
Best
Directly.
pistol in the game.
Yeah, I'm also aware of that. Can I interest you in a Baccarina Bloodborne crossover where Lady Maria ends up in Baccarina with
No, not
Baccarina?
really.
Oh,
Not really.
okay. It's really good.
Maybe some other time.
Ugh. Um, he threw it into the guy's eyes. Seeing as his cheap trick bought him a few moments, took his precious few seconds of distraction to inject himself with a crimson vial, allowing the deep wound to knit back together. Hmm. If it wasn't for the earlier description, I think I would buy it.
The
Fact that
bullet vial doing it.
yeah, I would buy the blood vial healing it, but the fact that the author described it as the arm was basically hanging off.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say that's a negative.
Yeah.
Ghost
You're
Rider.
gonna press X it out.
Oh, I'm pressing F to pay respects.
Oof.
Well, the pain was distracting. Yomzo!
Hey, listen. Maybe his great grandfather was a black knight. You don't know. Maybe nerve damage just runs in that family.
It's possible. See, what's your superpower? I have nerve damage. Pretty sure that's not a superpower. Oh, God. What's your superpower? Oh, I have will. Pretty sure you need will to be alive. No, it's my superpower. Oh, fucking Christ, Rooster Teeth.
Yeah.
It was not enough to pierce through the sedative-riddled mind of Abel as he quickly injected himself with 2 more vials, one into each thigh. Wait, why your thighs? Isn't it your arm that's falling off?
He's probably doing that because that's just the generic animation in the game. Just pop a vial and just right in the thigh it goes.
Right, but my point being is that if he was just like injected 2 more into his thigh, I would just be like, oh, okay, that's just the animation, so that's what he's going with. But no, he said he specified 1 vial per thigh, and I'm really confused as to why it was necessary to
I don't
specify.
know. Maybe he likes keeping his track marks an even number between both the legs. I don't know.
Actually, that's another thing that I've always was curious about games that had injectable healing serums like Fallout. Would the injectable healing serum heal over the damage the injection did?
Theoretically, don't think it's the kind of thing that people normally consider.
It's a very important thing to consider, Max. Because it's the difference between looking like an injection junkie and not, which is important.
I hate to admit it, but you do have a point.
Also, another thing that I'm always very curious about with the whole injection thing is I understand you inject it to get it right into your bloodstream. Don't have to, wait for yourself to digest it or anything like that. I get that. But does it ever actually matter where you inject it at? Like, is it a localized healing factor? And just the game's limited by the engine and the animation so that it's do one animation? Or is it like a whole body healing thing? And if it's a whole body healing thing, does it get expended on healing things that aren't the biggest wound?
Maybe.
Which again brings up the point of wouldn't it be better to inject it as close to the wound as possible? Because then it'll
How?
circulate through your body less before it
Yeah.
gets to the wound.
Yeah. How dare you be reasonable?
I know, I hate this. Let's see. So I defeated someone today, on Catfish's server. They held the opinion of fan fiction is an author's truth, basically.
I'm sorry, say that again?
I defeated someone on Catfish's fanfiction server today
Uh-huh.
in Discord because they held the opinion they were looking for a slash fic of characters that aren't normally gay in a setting that normally doesn't support gay relationships.
Uh-huh.
And uh, I said it was cringe, and they respond, and some other people chimed in, and they were like, "Well, fan fiction isn't meant to be canon compliant. You know, each person has their own interpretation, and author's truth and whatnot. And my response was, yeah, that's cool and all, but I stopped having the opinion of fan fiction is just a person's opinion when I started seeing shit where, I described the Harry Potter one where he had sex with Snape as a kitten after being rescued from Vernon with the 317 anal tears.
Why would you do that to those people?
Because it made me win the argument.
Oh my god. Of course. Of course. Silly me. I forgot. This is Sneaky I'm talking to. Sneaky, why would you sink your ship like that? Because I still won.
I will absolutely sink this fucking ship. I'll fucking do it again.
God.
Anyway. The first vial was a sedative to ease the sharp pins and needles now roaring through his right limb, while the second was to increase the regenerative effects of the first blood vial forced into his veins. Again, okay, wait. Why would you inject a sedative nowhere near the injury site?
Actually, yeah, that's a good point. Second, so how would the second one increase the regenerative effects? Because I'm assuming he probably didn't put
And
it
wait,
anywhere near the site of the
wh-
first blood vial.
why would you put that near? Wait, wait, hold up. Shit. Hmm. That's an excellent question, Max. Because I know there's substances out there that you can put on wounds to help encourage mitosis and whatnot, and reduce scarring. Um, so I can believe that there is a bloodborne substance that increases the regenerative factor of a blood vial. I just feel like you should probably be injecting that at the place you want to be regenerated, and not
Yeah.
in your thigh.
Um.
Also,
Yeah.
injecting a sedative into your thigh, which is nowhere near your wound. Um,
Wait. Wait. That's a sedative, not an anesthetic.
yeah, it's a sedative.
I injected myself with a sedative. Oh, you needed help sleeping? No, I was in the middle of a fight.
No,
Uh.
I can understand because was it morphine is considered a sedative, I believe, right?
Yeah. So here's the thing: sedatives have a tendency to knock you out. An anesthetic
I. I'm
usually just
aware of that. My point is I understand why the author thought it was a sedative.
yeah, yeah. Um, the problem is that sedatives are capable of numbing the pain, but a
Yeah,
sedative is more of a full body solution as
that's
opposed to a
that
localized
that's
solution.
what I was gonna say is I understand, I think he's thinking of shit like morphine and oxycodone and whatnot, like the really heavy pain meds that
Yeah,
are
yeah.
sedatives.
Well, sure, but
Except he
again,
doesn't. My point is that he doesn't know what a sedative is beyond a heavy pain med.
he at which point, how has he never watched a TV show long enough to hear, "Give
Max,
me 50
Max,
cc's of sedative"?
Max. Kids don't watch TV these days.
Uh, I know.
Okay. So his experience with sedatives is probably Tumblr, references into hospitals for pain meds, and pain meds. That's probably it. That's probably all he knows. Is that pain meds and the word sedative are linked. So he just like, oh well, he injects himself with the sedative to help with the pain. Not realizing what the word sedative means. Because, not everyone took Latin. But, yeah, so he injects a sedative straight into the thigh, which means it's probably going to circulate through his body pretty quickly. Again, I can understand injecting a sedative, like, again, morphine, like the little tiny fucking slips of morphine they had in World War II that medics carried around.
Yeah.
They were effectively localized pain meds that were in quantities where it was enough to dull the pain of a localized area, but not enough to put the rest of the body down, effectively. And the reason why you had to inject it super close to the wound site as well for it to work like that. But he didn't do that. He injected it into his thigh, the whole vial, like a fucking whole vial, not like a little tiny. And again, like I'm like the stuff that the medics had. I'm talking about that shit's like maybe thumbnail, a little bit beyond your thumbnail size. I'm talking the thumb, that size. That was the morphine slips they had in World War II. They weren't big. That's because he had to localize it. And he didn't do that. He just fucking those vials were big in Bloodborne. They weren't small.
They are big enough that your hand just wraps around them in palm.
Yeah, like that's as far as the body is concerned in terms of injectable liquid, that's a lot of fucking liquid.
Yeah, and he just shot it right into the thigh, which is a preferred area for injecting things like this because it spreads really well from the thigh.
Yeah.
uh,
Fucking, can you
boy.
imagine you're fighting some guy and you wound him really badly and he pulls out a healing syringe and you're like, oh shit, and he injects it into him. So like, oh damn it, now I have to fight him even harder. And then he pulls out another one. You're like, oh, what is he doing with this one? And he injects it into himself again, and you're like, okay. Oh, he was already healing. What is that one for? And then he just falls over, asleep.
Yes, I guess I win.
Also, the other issue with injecting a sedative into your thigh is if it's enough to affect your arm from your thigh, it's probably going to basically disable your thigh.
Oh yeah, no, most sure. Like
even if it doesn't knock you out, that thigh isn't responding.
My first thought was, why would you put an anesthetic there? You just numbed your entire thigh now, and then wait, that's a sedative, not an anesthetic. Why would
Yeah, no, like that thigh isn't moving anymore. Like even if it doesn't knock you out, that
well, it's not that it won't. It's not that it won't move, but because you will lose all sense of feeling there. It's not going to move the way you want it to.
Yes.
Like when you get when you have Novocaine shot up into your gums, you can still move your jaw, but it doesn't react the way you want because the muscles are super relaxed.
And
the
depending
nerves
on how
aren't
much
really...
Novocaine, it's very common for your tongue to like flop out and shit because it also numbed the tongue.
Yeah, so like it's not that you can't move anything, it's nothing moves the way you want because everything's too relaxed.
Yeah, people
and the nerves
really
aren't
don't
receiving what they need.
Yeah, people really
receiving the
don't
sensation.
comprehend how much your brain does passively in terms of background adjustment. Like, you think, like, oh, I want to go over and reach over and grab this cup so I can drink from it. Well,
Oh yeah.
meanwhile, your brain's using the slight movement, like every single time your arm even like slightly adjusts, it readjusts itself passively in your brain to be like, okay, the arm has moved this far distance. All right, it's marking off this much distance. It needs to move this much farther according to our depth perception, and then we contract the muscle this much more, and then it does a lot of fucking shit in the background, and when you can't get the haptic feedback back from taking a sedative, uh, you're like that's where you get the flopping from, because your brain's like, all right, move the arm forward this much, flam. Nope, move it back, flop. No, okay, a little bit left, flop. Because it's not getting the feedback to tell it how much force it needs to do.
Yeah. Yeah, that my first experience with anesthetic was to get fillings on my teeth for cavities.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, this sucks.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because I know I can still move it. I can feel it moving, but not really feel it moving. And there was even a moment like, okay, just bite my tongue. I can feel pressure, but I don't feel the pressure.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
very off-putting.
It's really weird, yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it it's the closest thing I hope I ever come to phantom limb sensations.
Unfortunately, they had to shoot my mouth up quite a bit with Novocaine, both because of my resistance and because the fucking nurse had no fucking idea what she was doing. They ended up like dosing me like 3 times over of what they should have been.
Yeah.
And I left the doctors after getting the drilling, with my like drool just literally just pouring out of my mouth as my whole fucking tongue is just like sticking out of my mouth because I couldn't tell where it was anymore. So I was like, okay, well, at least I won't be biting it if the whole fucking thing's just jammed out. Fucking drool's just pouring down my face because I can't contract my cheeks. Oh god.
Alright then.
Good times. Anyway,
Oh shit, this actually looks interesting.
oh, what does?
There is a manga titled Moriarty the Patriot, and I just find myself hoping that this is meant to be based off Sherlock Holmes's Moriarty.
Hmm.
I'm gonna pick this up because I'm real curious.
God. Anyway, and the fuck. Okay, so he gets the thanks, Adele. I owe you one. Is Adele someone important, or is that an OC?
I believe Adela is the prostitute. Hang on, there's something very no. Adela is the nun, right? There's something very special about Adela the nun. It's been a minute though.
The armored hunter thought to himself as he rolled the injured limb slowly, testing its maneuverability. While not
Yeah.
fully
Her
healed,
blood is a unique item that heals quicker than normal blood vials. Because there's something unique about her blood.
very interesting. While not fully healed, it would have to do, as the elderly gentleman seemed to have wiped enough of the powder from his eyes to glare heatedly at the armored and cloaked individual facing off against him, noting that he now stood like a man possessed. German, you taught me everything I knew, but the apprentice has to create his own niche tactics somewhere. Abel stated evenly, palming a few poison knives from his weapon pouch, while judging the distance between himself, his former master, and his weapon. Alright, so that's another thing right here. is yeah, I realize he's wearing gauntlets, but I really wouldn't trust putting poison knives in a pouch with everything else. They're just
No,
chilling
no.
out in that pouch. That's very much a specific sheath, specific spot on my body, sort of location thing.
Oh, most definitely.
Another thing
Like,
is, I find it very off-putting that he used effectively a gunpowder catalyst as quicksand. So sand attack. There we go. Sand attack. Um, I wouldn't recommend carrying around raw gunpowder catalyst to use as a blinding agent. That sounds like a really bad plan.
uh, hang on. What about raw? What?
Raw bone ash is, I believe, is used as a gunpowder catalyst in Bloodborne. If I'm wrong.
God, it's been a minute. I think it's literally ash. Because ash. I gotta find the thing.
Yeah. Uh,
Hang on.
Also, ash is very poor at being a projectile.
There it is. Bone marrow. Where is? Oh, there it is.
Like
Yeah, they
ash.
don't really explain how it works.
Mhm. Okay,
It's
yeah.
he. I think it's something. I don't remember what the animation for it is. I'm gonna go look that up while you have
Eh,
your
Ash is
information.
typically a very fine product, very fine in terms of particulate. Um, and it can make a nice cloud, but it's not exactly something I would recommend trying to throw at someone unless they're basically point blank, because the lighter the particulate, the more it will poof out, basically, and the less particulate will actually get into their eyes. Like, if you're genuinely looking for something to get into someone's eyes in the middle of a fight, there's a reason why things like sand, table salt, that sort of granulity, not like rock salt that you would get for cooking and whatnot. The sea salt, I believe it's called. You
Yeah,
want the more finely ground ones because they're heavy enough to go to your target, but they're also small enough to actually dissolve pretty much instantly, or get stuck in the person's mucous membrane of their eyes, which is the important part for blinding someone.
yeah. Uh, by the way, the loading animation is literally you take the ash and you stuff it into your pistol.
Right.
So
That's what I
I'm not.
thought. That's
Yeah,
what I'm calling a gunpowder catalyst.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a minute. It's like there's something about that animation that I'm not remembering, and it's oh yeah, you literally load it in on top of the gunpowder already sitting in the gun.
Yeah, that's something that I don't really recommend you trying to use as a blinding agent, as I feel like that is a bad plan. Like, it could easily backfire on you, especially because it's ash. So if you're, you know, basically wearing anything but plastic, it's probably gonna stick to your hands. It's gonna get in the air. It's gonna settle on your clothing, like
It's,
gunpowder does.
it's gonna go everywhere except where you want it.
Well, no, it's gonna go everywhere, including the place you probably want it, especially if they're super close ranged. But the issue is, if you do this quite often, you're gonna build up a layer of gunpowder catalyst on yourself, which doesn't sound like a good idea.
I'm sure it's fine. Probably.
Um,
I mean, definitely
um
not, but you know.
Anyway, well, it looks like it's going to take a cheap shot to put down this old codger, Abel thought bitterly, while slowly pushing a bit of his energy into the yellow bone hanging between his chest and the ashen bone armor. Wait, hold on. Hanging between? I thought you said the armor was a second skin. You can't call the armor a second skin and then say there's stuff between it.
Yeah. No, that's not how that works.
With a twitch of his hand, Abel shot his Evelyn in Gurman's direction. Just his direction, not even aiming at him. That's interesting. While activating the technique that gave Gurman his fearsome reputation even 100 years later, as far as Abel was to discern after the events of Old Yarnum. As the keen hunter expected, the first hunter dodged to the right. Oh yes, he expected the dodge to the right, instead of expecting the dodge. It's key, very important that there's a difference. It's one thing to expect someone to dodge being shot at. It's another thing to expect them to dodge to the right after being shot at. Having favored that leg over his left throughout the entire fight. That's the sort of thing you kind of want to mention earlier. Just like as a little breadcrumb, I guess, sort of. Like, Abel noticed that he was leaning on his right leg more. And so then he pulled out the gun and shot, and as expected, Gurnham dodged to the right.
Yeah, I think it just depends on what you're going for with your writing.
I guess, but again, this is me who...
That you can end the sentence there.
Yes, this is me, yeah, I know. I'm just saying, this is
No.
me as a person who likes to think they have an eye for pacing. And I just feel like telling your audience that your character was able to notice something before they do something that is based off of them noticing that thing.
You would probably have some small amount of difficulty reading through some JoJo parts then.
I don't like JoJo.
Because there are a lot of moments of like, how did you notice that? Oh, well, I saw it here, here, and here, and so I did this. And then there's
Like, don't get me wrong,
stories
like,
like Sherlock Holmes.
I like Psych. I like Psych and Sherlock Holmes because they do end up explaining it. But at the same time, in shows like Psych, they do make a point of showing that the character is spotting something before they do an action, and then afterwards they explain what they spotted.
Oh, yeah.
But
Psych
they go, hey, look, audience, this character has noticed something. Basically,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I just think that's a better way of pacing and portrayal of actions. Like, there is I'll even caveat that with there's a fair number of action you can get away with just being like, oh yeah, the character did this, expecting them to do this because reason. But if it's like a sort of a fast-paced, back and forth dialogue, or a fast-paced back and forth action scene where someone's shooting at someone else or swinging their sword at someone else and is trying to lead them into a trap or something, that's the sort of thing where you have to pace out your breadcrumbs of the fight, basically. Character swings, they notice they leaned on their right a bit more than their left, and so coming up, noticing that, they came up with a plan and they're executing it, and because it kind of takes away from me, like, after the fight, the person's like, oh yeah, so you see, now that I have beaten you, I shall now explain to you how I knew how to beat you.
Yeah, I think that largely just depends on personal preference for things.
It does.
I really don't have a preference between the two. It really depends on the story
Mm-hmm.
and the characters being written in the story.
That's fair.
Like here, I actually am with you on this. It probably would have been better to show that your main character is observant in these fights
Right.
from the start, rather than
Again, there's the important
relying
part here
on-
as well, is this is the first chapter, and you are supposed to be explaining the character to the audience with subtle hints.
Yeah. like show us that the character is smart rather than telling us after the fact.
Yeah, right. Because then later on you can be like, oh, you know, they swung
You
to
know what?
this, and then they expected the person to the right or the left or whatever.
Yeah.
Because then the audience knows, like, oh, you know, he noticed something earlier. What did he notice? But you have to set up that the character is like that before you just start doing it.
Yeah, Sherlock Holmes, going back to Sherlock Holmes as an example,
Mhm.
does a really good job of like, okay, well, we're being showed Watson
Right.
narrating himself and how he meets Sherlock Holmes, and he shows through the eyes of someone who was just a normal person,
Right.
shows us Sherlock Holmes is an absolute genius, and then he tells us afterwards by having Sherlock explain, I noticed this, this, and this on your person, and that
Right.
told me all I need to know about you from this first meeting.
Right.
Like
Honestly, I feel
there's a
like I would
good
throw
way
off. Hmm?
there's a good way to do it and a bad way to do it.
Yeah.
The author here is doing this
It also
in a bad
depends
way.
on perspective, and if the character's perspective is from the character doing it or the character watching it.
Yeah, like Sherlock Holmes, guess what? The perspective was the person seeing it. It was Watson's perspective.
Right.
So it was easier to relate to. This is a third person omniscient view of a character that we know nothing about.
Right. Right.
For some reason has decided to rename himself to the Keen Hunter instead of the Good Hunter, and he can just get the fuck out of here with that.
He is the keen hunter.
But yeah, there are good and bad ways to do the show don't tell, or the show and tell, or the
Right.
don't show but do tell. There's
And
different ways to do it.
it was like I was explaining to the person on Catfish's server, different conversation, different person. But they were saying like, oh yeah, I'm only good at third person perspective, and I was like, well, there's like 6 different third person perspectives,
And
and
sometimes those can even merge
float.
into each
Yeah,
other.
exactly. Like sometimes they can flow together, sometimes they're the same thing. It really depends on how much information you're telling the audience, what kind of reliability of the information. The is it third person perspective in terms of like over the shoulder, or are we talking third person perspective in terms of like looking down on the map? You know, like
Yeah,
there's
it
so many different
is.
ways to
Yeah.
describe third person perspective.
Oh yeah, and then there's third person omniscient versus third person unreliable versus a weird mix of the two where it's not really omniscient, or it's closer to omniscient, but it's third person withholding,
Right.
which
Right.
is probably my least favorite way of doing things, even though it's also one of the easiest ways to do things.
Mhm.
It's the lazy, efficient route, I guess. I don't necessarily like it,
I have to
but
say,
I
first
accept that it
person is
exists.
probably one of the hardest.
It's it's difficult because it's easy to slip between those future, past, and present tenses
Mm.
because the English language is a minefield already.
Well,
And
not
if you
only
forget
that,
for a moment,
a good
if you
example is a
forget,
sentence that I just was working on
yeah,
in the latest chapter I was writing, where it is a scene where the character is looking at undead falling off a cliff trying to get at them. But
hmm
the thing is that the undead had fallen from the cliff, so the first part is past tense. But the character is also simultaneously actively observing them in the present tense, screaming and frothing.
yeah, first person gets confusing very quickly.
It's just, oh god, it's painful. It's painful at times, let me tell you.
Yeah. Well, I think that's why people tend to prefer first person
The third person, you
from
mean?
the future.
Oh,
No,
yes,
they
yeah.
prefer when you see people write first person. I feel like I more often than not see it being like I am recounting my story rather than
Mm-hmm.
living my
Oh,
story.
okay, yeah, yeah.
Because keeping everything in the past tense is so much easier. And the only time present tense comes in
Mm-hmm.
is when it is dialogue between two characters because they are speaking in the
In the
moment as
present,
far as
yeah.
they're concerned.
Yeah. Yeah, it's... You have advantages with doing story recounting narrative. One of the disadvantages I feel of doing the recounting narrative is the fact that you know the character survives.
Oh yeah. It's one of those things. Like a great example is Star Wars. When Disney acquired Star Wars,
Mm-hmm.
the first spinoff, sorry, not the first spinoff, the first side movie
Oh, right,
was Rogue
Rebels.
One.
Right, yeah, the Rebel Rogue
No,
One,
not
yeah.
yeah. It was Star Wars Rogue One, and it's like I enjoyed the movie, but I can't bring myself to care about these characters because I know they're going to die.
Right, because
I already know
right,
the ending to this.
yeah.
Um, so then you'll get things like Gurren Lagann is a good example.
Mm-hmm.
It's old enough at this point to spoil this. It is a story told from Simon's perspective, and at first it seems like Kamina is the main character.
Oh, that was great. That
And
was
that
I. Oh
twist
God, I
comes in
fucking
episode
love
8.
Gurren Lagann.
But it was
Oh
episode 8,
God.
wasn't it?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, like episode 8 or 7, 8 or 9. You suddenly get that twist. You realize, oh, he's not the main character.
Oh
He was
God, it's
someone
such a
important to the main
fucking good
character.
scene. Oh my God.
Yeah,
God, Gurren Lagann was so fucking good.
that's also my kind of pacing. I have a friend who loves Gunbuster a bunch.
I know
It's
about
like,
Gunbuster. Yeah.
I like Gunbuster. I just don't like its pacing. It's super amped up and hyper. It's the kind of thing where like it stretches even my suspension of disbelief in the pacing. So Gurren Lagann is much more
I
enjoyable to me as a result
I
because it's
also
better
did
paced.
really love the fact that Gurren Lagann was sort of meta with all of its shit, where it's like Kamina just takes the other mech and slams it into his mech, and it's like, well, we'll just fuse because that's what mechs do, and then it actually works. But like his logic is because that's what mechs do, so therefore this will work. And
Yeah, and that becomes the basis going forward for spiral energy.
or or,
How does
or
this
his
work?
the sword scene
Yes.
where he pulls out his sword and the sword is as long as he needs it to be.
That shot was so
It
stupid.
was so great.
And then you realize that they kept the sword's length accurate when he does the first swipe, and then it's back to normal.
Yeah, exactly.
Why?
Yeah,
Why?
it's so fucking good. It's great. I love it.
Yeah, Gurren Lagann had some really great things you could use for examples for like tropes, cliches. Like I mentioned, like I've heard people like, no, Simon was obviously the main character from the start. It's like, no, he wasn't.
No, he was so not like he was
He,
clearly
okay,
the
because they're like,
understudy.
but they're like, oh, but the framing. I was like, this framing put Kamina above Simon. Simon's the first person we see, but that's not good storytelling to make the first person you see the main character. If that was true, any number of stories would be a lot shorter.
Yeah.
Like,
It's sort of like everyone loves Raymond, where the main character isn't actually Raymond.
yeah, he's just kind of an observer of what's going on around him.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like again, like recounting the past, first person advantages, and like you said, the biggest disadvantage though is the character that you're following is going to live, which is why it's more interesting when it's like I'm not the main character. I'm just telling you what the main character used to do.
Right. Exactly.
So
I
then,
thought that was a
so then,
great twist in Dragon Age 2, to be honest. Like as
yeah,
much
so
hate
the
as that game gets.
oh yeah, so then the twist becomes, well, okay, this was your main character the entire time. So now it's like I don't know if I need to be invested in them or not because I don't know if they survived this tale or not.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Put it into question. Anyway, so yeah, so with grim determination, Abel initiated the ending phase of the fight for his life and shouted quickening inside his mind. Hello, Morgoth. With a flash of yellowed smoke, Abel cut Gurnham off mid-dash with a vicious headbutt, reinforced with the eyeless Canehurst helmet completely covering his face. Wait, then why is he wearing the Bone Ash set? Boo.
He's wearing parts of the Bone Ash with parts of the Cane Hearse and probably one other armor set in there. I just don't care.
It's fucking cringe, let me tell you. The only opening the helmet provided allowed his long silver hair to cascade down the back. Is that really a thing?
Long silver hair?
Yeah.
Probably, but fuck if I care enough to go look.
Oh yes, Tojo. Does he not have? No, he does have guest star roles. I don't know.
He's just not saying anything. He's just not saying anything.
Yeah.
No, evening, fellas. I didn't want to interrupt because you guys are in the middle of talking.
No, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
What you guys
this is
got here?
it's fucking cringe, man. It's a Ruby Bloodborne story, but so far we found the armor the author was trying to describe for his Bloodborne character, which
was
utterly failed to describe properly. The
Where is
Bone
this?
Ash set.
Bone Ash.
Yeah, Bone
Bone
Ash.
Ash.
The pictures are in
is-
the chat.
Yeah, they're earlier up in the 9K chat.
He utterly failed to
I-
describe it properly.
First one, I assume. Is it
sorry.
the first one you posted?
No, the
Axe.
first one is the Cane Hearse. I just realized he took.
Oh, right.
They were modeling the Cane Hearse set in front of the Burning Dream. Why? That's such a weird spot to like showcase that armor.
Dab. That's why.
The second picture is the Bone Ash set,
And the third picture
Not
is
gonna
the
lie.
concept art for it.
which makes it look like a Dark Souls 3 idea.
It does. I'm not
It
gonna lie. I
looks
saw
so
that third picture,
good.
and I
It
was
looks
like,
very
that looks
nice.
like a Dark Souls 3 concept art bird. And I have
I
the Dark
actually,
Souls 3
except
concept art
aside
bird.
from the wizard hat, I really dig it.
I don't like the hat. The hat throws me off too much, honestly.
Yeah.
It throws me
You
off
know what?
way
You know what
too
the hat
much.
does?
Hmm.
Makes me wish that Big Hat Logan came back as an Embered.
Oh, that would be pretty funny.
An Embered with crystal magic. Oh God.
I'm back, bitch.
Why did they call him Big Hat Logan? The mystery continues.
No, there was no mystery on that. They called him Big Hat Logan because his hat's diameter was literally 3 feet.
I know.
There was zero mystery on why they called him Big Hat.
I know. That's the joke.
It's the quickest fucking mystery the Mystery Crew ever solved.
Yeah, that's one of them. Why
Anyway, so, yeah, long silver hair cascading down his back.
Yep.
The slightly fluted helmet easily smashed through the cartilage making up Gurman's nose, causing even more crimson life force to erupt and spray over the slowly reddening flowers around the two men. Okay, hold up. I have seen
Crimson
broken
Fury-
noses before, and they did not explode into blood.
Hmm.
Also, hearing someone say crimson life force is the equivalent of someone calling eyes as orbs.
Crawling in my skin! Yeah, Crimson Life Force is a pretty fucking cringe way to talk about it, not gonna lie.
Yeah. Fuck.
That's
bad.
Using the second distraction within a few minutes of their fight, Abel slipped the two poison knives clutched between his fingers deeply into the elderly hunter's flesh, with no possessive, indicating that Gurman had cloned himself.
Oh yeah, that's why he has two. One for each one.
Easily destroying his kidney, his own kidney, wow. You gotta talk about a bad poisoner that you destroy your own kidney. With the
That one's
viciously
poisoning.
shaped throwing knives. No, I'm pretty sure the poison is what destroyed the kidney. Because otherwise, why bother using poison throwing knives if the throwing knife alone will just destroy the kidney? Also, stabbing someone's kidney isn't gonna kill them quickly. I hate to break this to you.
Actually, all it's going to do is make you an asshole because that's one of the most painful, slow ways
Yeah,
to go.
it is very slow.
Yeah.
It's why, like, kidney failure is such a problem, because you really only notice kidney failure when the kidney has fully failed and is actively, like, poisoning the body. Because it just takes so long for the kidney failure to, like, actually, like, start failing. It's not like heart failure, because you notice pretty quickly when someone's heart's failing. It's a very slow plot process for the kidney compared to other organs. I think liver is the only organ that probably takes longer to fail than the kidney. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure liver is the longest organ in terms of non-skin organs to have acute failure be present.
Lovely.
But liver bleeds. A bleeding liver is actually paradoxically reversed from the kidney, because the liver is basically a giant blood sac. And so if the liver starts bleeding, you notice that pretty quickly, because that's like major internal hemorrhaging. The more you know about the body, the more you're baffled by how the fuck we're still functioning. Anyway, so, well, it's not a weapon that would put down a beast, kin, or great one. Aline the Crow had taught him... the comma is correct, but I dislike the sentence structure. Aline the Crow had taught Abel a very valuable lesson when it came to humans and killing humans. They were vulnerable to poison. Actually, that really depends. It really depends on the poison.
Should there be a colon
breeding.
actually after killing them and to link into the second sentence? Because the second sentence is more like a fragment.
More, yes. Technically speaking, you should use a colon. However, using colons and semicolons in narrative is really, like, frowned upon. Unless
I
you're
don't
doing
think
a
colons,
research
but
paper.
I could do semicolons. I could
No,
see semicolons being better.
semicolons
But
are
colons, I
even.
feel like are better.
Colons can sometimes be used in the narrative, but like I said, they're frowned upon. Semicolons are like, you really shouldn't be using this in the narrative. Fictional narrative, of course.
Right.
But you should be structuring your sentences so they flow nicely. Colons and semicolons are used specifically in non-fictional narratives because you're not trying to structure your paragraphs to be narratively flowing. You're structuring your paragraphs to be informative and concise and clear. And sometimes just saying it was black is more important than saying the chemical structure allowed it to appear the color black. You know. German, despite being sustained in some form or fashion by the hunter's dream, missing the possessive, was as human as Abel was. I'm gonna mash X, the fucking biggest fucking X in existence. Or at least as human as Abel wished he was. No, no.
Carbon is literally being powered by a grape right now.
Well, I mean, not only that, that the sentence itself doesn't make sense. German is as human as Abel was, or at least as human as Abel wished he was. Which doesn't make sense because that would imply Gurnham is more human than Abel, meaning the poison works less on Abel. Which does not make sense at fucking all in terms of narrative, because Gurman is less human than any hunter. Period.
Yeah. Also, wish seems wrong here. I feel like hoped is the word he's looking for. Because you don't like wish that he's human. You would hope that he's human enough that the poison is effective.
No, that's the
Also,
problem, is because he's not talking about how he's hoping Gurnham is human. He's talking about how he wishes he, the first person Abel, was human. And he's comparing that wish to humanity to Gurnham. Which again, like I said,
that confused.
yeah, it's a
That's
terrible
extremely
sentence.
confusing because
Yeah.
like he said he has two proper nouns in the sentence, German and himself,
Right.
and him saying he is not very fucking. It doesn't really
No,
point out
it
which fucking
works.
thing it's talking about.
No, it works just fine, but the problem is how he's worded the words in the sentence of itself. The pronoun works fine, but what he's implying in the sentence itself makes it nonsensical, not the pronoun usage. The pronoun usage makes it more apparent, maybe, but it's just how he's worded the whole sentence that makes it just really weird.
Why is human capitalized twice? It's fucking
Because
wrong,
it's
right?
talking about species.
Is that when you capitalize it?
Yeah.
Oh shit! I gotta go back and I gotta redo my paper then. Whoops.
While not consumed by the blood lust. Okay, it's a very important distinction there. It is literally the distinction between helping your Uncle Jack off a horse and helping your Uncle Jack off a horse.
Yeah.
Bloodlust is far different from bloodlust. One's a sexual
Yes.
attraction to blood, and the other one is an intense desire for blood. Non-sexual desire for blood. Hopefully. Otherwise,
Shall
it would
that
really
be, shall that be a new OC's like defining characteristic? They fly into bloodlusts as they lust after blood.
I did not have sexual relations with that puddle of blood.
This is the first chapter, right?
Oh yes, it
Yeah.
is.
Why is it starting?
Why?
Oh,
governmental.
sneaky! It's been an hour and 15 minutes.
Oh, I'm aware.
And you guys are only this far. I'm looking
Oh,
at the
yeah.
fucking the scroll
There's
bar
been
on
a
the side
lot
of
to
the
discuss,
screen.
and strangely enough, we've remained mostly on topic.
Oh, we've
this
actually
time.
remained entirely on topic, pretty much.
There's only has it just been the two of you this whole time?
Oh yes. Pretty much
How
no
the
one showed up.
Huh. That's
Okay.
fucking well. It is
Well,
midterm season. I'm not-
Here's the thing: if there aren't
Rip.
too many people here, I can actually sit here and analyze things.
Mm-hmm, exactly. And then I start analyzing off of his analyzations, and then we kind of circle jerk analyzing.
Well, how the fuck are you like? How are you only this far through?
Because there's a lot of analysis
because the story's long, and
Oh,
two,
okay.
because we in-depth discussioned a lot of the shit that normally people would have just talked over on us for.
I see.
Also, I've been drinking quite heavily.
Yeah, that'll
anything
do
good?
it too. Well, we did have a 20-minute off topic, not really off topic, but just looking at some of this author's other things.
That's true.
Now,
But that is
think
sort
he
of
now-
relevant.
oh, it's relevant, yes, but like we were off the story for 20 minutes because we were looking at this dude's other stuff that you now want to take a look at, presumably on Friday.
Honestly, I'm keen to just keep fucking going because I'm not going fucking anywhere. Oh, someone just sent me a bunch of pictures of corgis, and oh, they're fucking. Oh my god, that one's black and white. Oh my god, that's so adorable. Oh, I wanna hug it. Dude, I fucking love corgis. They're just like The best dog.
Yes, corgis are very fucking adorable. Man.
They're so fucking fluffy. Totally unbiased opinion, too. Definitely did not own a corgi. Very unbiased opinion. In my personal opinion. Corgis are better. Anyway. So he stabs him in the kidney, blah 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 blah. How much blood had been infused into his body in essence. She said, this literally makes no sense. Like, Gurman's the old hunter that taught Abel how to be a hunter. But then Abel goes on to say that he hopes that Gurman is basically as human as he wished he could be, because he's infused so much blood and essence into himself, he doesn't feel human anymore. But why the fuck would Gurman be anywhere remotely near human then, if you don't feel human after only, like, a fucking couple nights of blood? Gurman's been literally there for centuries, as far as we are aware.
Yes, killed
What, like,
many
what's-
beasts, including the probably costs, if I remember correctly.
Literally, he is the cause of death of every single tombstone in the hunter's dream. Anyway, while not sexually attracted to blood, blood administrations, Abel was without a doubt the most unique hunter in existence due to his innate nature to adapt to old blood. Boy, I am so glad I'm drinking.
I'm not. This is painful. I just got here, and this is very painful to listen to read.
Whoa. Woo. Ugh. It never stops burning, that 95 rye. Spicy, spicy liquid. My spicy liquid fund. Anyway, so Gurnham dies to a kidney shot. Instantly.
Well then.
Which, again, is like the only fucking organ in existence that you don't die instantly to. Also, you have 2 kidneys!
Yeah.
You can, in fact, lose one!
Which really is impressive.
It shows how important the function of the kidney is. That the body was like, no, we need 2.
There's a redundancy. There's a redundancy system in place, yeah.
Also, how common losing a kidney was. that nature at some point was like, nah, man, they need 2 of these. Because, you know, that's a whole extra clump of cells you have to grow, feed, clean, like, produce waste, uses energy. Like, that's a lot of energy and waste being devoted to having a redundant organ. So clearly at some point nature was like, oh, fucking Christ, we need 2 of these. Like, the survival rate between having 1 kidney and having 2 kidneys was apparently that fucking severe. Same for lungs. Having 2 hearts isn't... Not having 2 hearts isn't surprising, though, because of how important pressure regulation is. It would just be far too complicated to have multiple hearts. Too many points of failure, basically. And having the second heart get hit wouldn't actually help, because having 2 hearts would mean just 2 points of failure. because the hearts are important to regulating pressure of your blood. And if one heart is A, leaking massive amounts of blood, and B, no longer working and not regulating the pressure, that means the pressure that was previously regulated by two hearts is now only being regulated by one heart. And let me tell you, you can tell the difference between 50% pressure and 100% pressure. Just go turn on your shower at 50% water pressure, and you'll fucking tell very fucking quickly what 50% pressure is like. Very noticeable is what I'm trying to get at. Also, kind of glad I don't have a web camera on right now, because I am doing the whole finger motion head bobbing thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
shit. Actually, I gotta go, guys. I will see you later.
Big
It was nice
rip.
being on the Discord call for a little bit. See y'all later.
See ya. Anyway, so Gurnham dies instantly to a single kidney being stabbed in a very Hollywood fashion.
Yeah.
And
not
then Gurnham
really.
dies.
In Hollywood would be like, yeah, cool, alright, he slowed down. Now's your chance to shoot him.
Right, exactly. Like, if he, like, stabbed in the kidney and then, like, stumbled and was like, oh, God! And then he's just like, see you later, Gurnham. Bang! I would have been like, okay. But no. He just dies instantly to a kidney shot. The Ash and Bones set adorning... Don't call it a set. Oh, fucking Christ. That's probably one thing I really hate about fanfictions about games, is they literally refer to armor as sets, and it's like no one has ever called them sets. No one calls armor sets, except for games.
Yeah.
Oh, what are you wearing? Oh, I'm wearing the Roman Legion set. Said no one fucking ever. Adorning his chest, lower body, and arms, gleamed in the baleful blood of Gurnham.
Okay.
Baleful, evil, ominous, malignant, harmful, destructive, malign, noxious, deadly.
I think there is a less, like, tense definition of that word, but I'm not too sure.
I literally just listed off all the terms it could mean. So I'm gonna go with the blood isn't baleful unless it's literally melting metal. It's not baleful blood. Only accentuated by the pale moonlight filtering down from above. The moonlight suddenly increasing was the only thing that indicated something was terribly wrong. Turning slowly, Abel watched with widened eyes as a grotesque thing, likely an old one like Murgo's wet nurse, with the most disturbing set of limbs. The teenager!
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. Yeah, there's a...
Mm.
It tends to be
Teenager.
an older fiction. Baleful can also mean wretched or miserable, but it is considered an obsolete definition.
That still doesn't make sense for the blood. Wretched blood? Miserable blood? It's still not a good definition.
Well, full of menacing and malign influences, pernicious evil. Like, I guess you could argue the blood itself is evil in a way. Because that blood would be from the old ones at this point, which are not
It would
nice.
be, it would be pale blood.
beings.
But I would just call it pale blood.
Yeah, he should have just said the pale blood.
Yeah, it's just pale blood.
Because when you say pale blood, you don't need a big breakdown unless someone knows literally nothing of Bloodborne. It's the pale blood. What's that mean? Bad things.
I mean,
That's
if
all you
you're
need to know.
reading a post epilogue Bloodborne Ruby crossover fic and you don't know what pale blood means, Why the fuck are you reading a post-epilogue Bloodborne fic?
Because Ruby.
Yeah, but Max, as we clearly know, Ruby fans don't do anything besides read Ruby. Only Ruby. Pure Ruby. And by pure Ruby, I mean literally anything that isn't Ruby. Especially the gay shipping coffee shop fics.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Turning is a little blah blah blah. Oh, by the way, Abel is a teenager.
Oh, 19, right?
No, he's 17.
It's weird how big a world of difference 17 to 19 is mentality-wise in most people.
Yeah. It's the difference between still in high school and getting your first paycheck. Which tends to change the worldview of some people.
Yeah. Yeah, that it does. Okay, it's 9:02. We really do need to wrap this up.
I mean, do you want to wrap it up, or are you peacing out?
I mean, yeah, like I'm fucking tired.
Ah, that's fair enough. All right, I'll just skippity dap through this all. So anyway, blah blah blah. You know, he's fighting the moon presence, and
Okay, we're going for the true ending then.
yeah, no, pushing Eldritch Being's hands away. Hunter's Mark. Hopefully, he tries to use the Hunter's Mark to escape the moon presence.
I mean, that's inspired, certainly, but it's still stupid.
Yeah, I find that personally to be okay. To be fair, that is an incredibly teenager idea of absolute retardation, but it's a very teenager thing to do. So, I guess I have to give the author credit. I don't think he intentionally did it though, so I'm also retracting that credit. So anyway, yeah, he wakes up in Ruby, and Gurnham's dead next to him. For some reason, using the Hunter's Mark, brought Gurnham with him, and Doll's also there, and Doll's like, "What the fuck?" and he's like, "What the fuck?" And so he's like, "Doll, what the fuck?" and Doll's like, "Don't know." And so then he's like, "Wow, fuck that cryptic answer. I'm gonna ignore you now." I'm not even kidding. That's literally what it says. Abel decided to ignore the woman. It fucking says that. Also, apparently, the whole Hunter's Workshop just also appeared in Ruby. Because he used the Hunter's Mark in front of the Moon Presence. And so I guess the Moon Presence just yeeted the entire Hunter's Dream, which, by the way, for anyone unaware, is a product of the Moon Presence. So the Moon Presence has direct control over the Hunter's Dream. And apparently using the Hunter's Mark in the Hunter's Dream just yeets the whole Hunter's Dream without any input from the Moon Presence, the person who sustains it, into another reality, apparently. Don't know how that works or how you could even explain that by Bloodborne logic. Like, I could understand if you were the Moon Presence now and you, like, decided to manifest your dream or some shit like that. I could be like, okay, yeah, you know what? I'll buy that. Fine. For the sake of the crossover, I'll just nod my head and say okay. But, yeah, he didn't... He's not a great one. I'm not really sure how he manifested a whole house. It's a little bit weird, to be honest. And anyway, so he's like, hey, doll, when you figure out how to grasp reality, I'll get back to you. And
That's pretty casual.
and then Doll's like, hey, is everything all right, good hunter? And Abel's like, yeah, totally. Everything's fine. And so he gets a bunch of supplies, and he takes Gurnham's weapon, and apparently Gurnham's burial scythe was stronger than Ryder Palash, already at +10, because it just broke the weapon and rendered it utterly useless. And then he grabbed a double helix dagger that was just sitting on the workbench, and ripped out one of his hairs, tossed it up in the air, and then cut it in half with the dagger. And the hair easily parted upon the mere touching of the double helix dagger blade. Aline sure knew how to keep a weapon in decent shape. Decent shape, he says. To a weapon that split protein chains by merely touching them. Okay. Usually sustained by primordial forces that kept the hunter's dream together, Abel was not surprised when he found that the fireplace did not have a fire in it. But he did find a cooking pot that was randomly there all of a sudden, but he didn't question it too much, because having a cooking pot full of food randomly above the fireplace all of a sudden was a boon that he wasn't willing to give up. All I have to do is go find some firewood, he thought to himself. How hard could that be? And then, he just kills a shit ton of Grim. And fucking time skip. He's killed a shit ton of Grim. And he's like, I don't regret thinking how hard it could be. These Grim were super easy to kill. Also, he harvested their masks as their bodies dissolved to ash. Minding his own business, he just walked off into the forest. Blah 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 blah. And he killed a Grim, and then more Grim appeared, and he killed them too, and then more Grim appeared, and he killed them too, and he was like, wow, those Grim pretty much hit hard on those wood trees. I should make sure not to get hit by Grim Claws. That would be bad if I got hit by Grim Claws, because the Grim Claws did a lot of damage to the wood trees. And so we shot the Grim, and the Grim died.
Oh no, the Grim hit hard. Bang.
And then he finally got hit by the Grim, and it really cut into him, but didn't actually damage his armor or him. It just hurt a lot. And then he shot the bear that hit him, and the bear was dead. He shot it.
Well, how dare he? The bear was just wanting directions.
And although the blow did not break his armor, it was enough to crack ribs and cause discomfort. So he took a health vial and injected it into his leg. And he got super angry because he slammed his fist into a tree. And then he clapped his hands, causing blue clusters to appear around him before they homed in on the creature and literally ripped it to shreds.
That particular spell, yes, would do that.
And then he's like,
He was
wow.
always doing this without the catalysts.
Oh, I know. And then he's like, wow, that technique costs way too much. And he had to recover his breath while he fingered another blood vial. And then he realized that he had already used all of his blood vials. Again, this is a pretty cringe thing that, I mean, I guess is fair enough for a teenager. But say, like, you have this one way of healing, right? Say, you know, you're in Fallout, you're in Bloodborne, you have the blood vials or stim packs or whatever. But then you
Mm-hmm.
suddenly aren't in Bloodborne or Fallout anymore. I
Yeah.
think the first thing your average person in that situation would do is stop using blood vials and stim packs to heal every little wound.
Yeah.
Because they'd be like, oh
Yeah.
shit, I'm not in the place I'm normally in. I don't know if I'll be able to keep having the resources that are already scarce in my world.
Yeah. I feel like the only exception would be Dark Souls 2 character using life gems, because let's be real, you've got 999 of those stocked.
Oh yeah, totally. Also, as far as Dark Souls characters, Dark Souls 2 specifically, would be concerned, is that life gems can pretty much be found on any corpse, period. So literally just killing people would restock your life gems, and you have no reason at that time to believe that killing things won't restock your life gems.
Yeah, by the time you get to your 20th kill, then it'll start kind of like,
And at that point, you still don't care because they're fucking life gems.
yeah. Could that be a crack story? Dark Souls 2 character gets lost it gets stuck in another world somewhere. It's like, well, I haven't found any life gems. Finally used them all up. I wonder what this Estus tastes like. I don't think I've ever had it.
Oh, hey, I finally used up all those life gems. Now I'm glad they're not cluttering up my inventory.
I wonder what this Estus tastes like. I've always been curious.
Oh wow, this works so much better than life gems.
Oh my god, we're only halfway through.
Yeah, I'll just keep accelerating. Anyway,
Yeah.
so blah blah blah. Abel could never really handle groups well. I mean, considering the fact that you're literally injecting blood vials, which can apparently reattach sawn off limbs, according to you, author. Your character is using blood vials to heal cracked ribs, which, don't get me wrong, a cracked rib is incredibly painful. That's all it is. That's it. It's not dangerous to your health. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's certainly dangerous to your health if you know, injure it further and it becomes, like, you know, broken or something. At that point, I'd be like, okay, yeah, use a blood vial on that, but a cracked rib is basically the equivalent of bruising your arm or leg. It hurts quite a bit. It doesn't actually impede you at all. It's nowhere near lethal, physically impossible to be lethal. It's just hurts. Which, as a hunter who's made it through all of Bloodborne, if a cracked rib is something you have to put a bandage over because it boo hurt, frankly, I'm shocked that you made it through all of Bloodborne.
Yeah.
Anyway, so blah blah blah, burial blade, walking stick, blah blah blah. He had night vision now because he just did. Then he ran towards his stash of blood vials that he kept inside the hunter's workshop that also went with him. And so he used just two of them immediately.
Yeah.
Really, you're just gonna use instant healing items when you can just go to sleep? It's not like you're even bleeding a lot. You just got a lot of cuts and scrapes and bruises. Why the fuck would you use an instant healing item when you can just literally sleep it off for a couple days? It's just baffling.
Yeah.
Big bitch moment. Yeah, so the doll was like, hey, did you succeed in what you wanted to do? And he's like, nope, fucking didn't. And the doll's like, hey, have you looked at the moon recently? And he's like, no, I haven't looked at the moon. I'm like, should I look at the moon? And doll's like, yeah, you should look at the moon. And he's like, alright, I'm looking at the moon. He's like, oh, fuck. The moon's exploded. That can't be good. Which, I mean, typically, you're right. An exploded moon wouldn't be good because the mass suddenly changing like that would drastically alter its orbital course and would likely see the lighter bits of it rain down upon the Earth and not just kind of hover around the moon. Actually, now that I say that, Remnant's gotta be huge. I mean, like, fucking massive. If, like, you really think about it, Remnant has to be massive to have a moon of that size that has enough gravity to it to keep its shattered pieces orbiting it. Like, that moon has to be as big as the Earth. So Remnant's gotta be fucking colossal. Alright. Food for thought, I suppose. Anyway, so, yeah, they look at the moon and shit, and he's like, wow, the moon's broke. What's that noise? And the doll was like, what the fuck's that noise? And he's like, man, I gotta check out this noise. And so he pulls out his stuff, and he goes check out the noise. And he's like, wow, what's this giant flying beast that's just hovering over my house? And then the beast opens up its maw, and people fall out. Remnant, is this about Ruby? Oh yeah, it's a Bloodborne Ruby crossover. So far, apparently the entire Hunter's dream ended up in Ruby somehow, with Gurnam dead, and the good hunter and the doll both alive, also in Ruby now. And I'm not really sure how that was managed. The author wasn't really clear beyond it just happened to roll with it. So yeah, it's not that good, to be honest. We're kind of not that good. Anyway, so to continue my acceleration through this enormous chapter of just really bland storytelling, where you're not really invested in the main character, and you're not really invested in what's happening, and you're not really invested in the premise.
Yeah.
So anyway, a bunch of people fall out of the giant flying monster, and he's like, oh shit, here we go again. And he's like, wow, it's a lot of teenagers falling out of the monster. And the two older ones were clearly more skilled than the teenagers, and he could just tell that because he could. And a spectacled silver-haired man with a cane was clearly going to be his toughest fight, because he just was gonna be. It was just obvious to him that the guy with silver hair and a cane It's just the best fighter among them all.
You know, I bet he's just biased because of Garmin.
It's, you know what? It's possible.
I would actually 100% applaud that of like, this dude has a cane, he must be a badass warrior because Garmin was in a wheelchair.
That's fair enough.
And
What
Garmin is
workshop are these folks with? Do each faction have their own workshop? Is this something I'm not aware of?
yes, yeah, there are multiple workshops.
Okay.
There's like church hunters, there's the powder keg
Okay.
hunters, so on and so forth.
Alright. Fair enough then. I've never seen weapons quite like theirs. I mean, you know, to be fair, Bloodborne and Ruby, as far as mecha shift weapons go, yeah, that's fair enough.
Bloodborne's my favorite one though because Bloodborne is consistent in that every single one of those weapons
More
can easily be
realistic weapons, where you're
yeah,
like minimal
well,
hand waving.
the one that threw me off for the longest time was the pizza cutter, and even that one I eventually figured out, oh, if you used this specific type of gear, you could totally get away with this.
Yeah, I mean, there is hand waving involved in the mecha shift weapons of Bloodborne, obviously. But it's like, okay, no, but like I can see the gears, I can see like where the
Yeah.
pulleys are, and I can see like, oh, if I turn the shaft like this and pull out, it becomes a sword. Like that, it's like, oh, okay, I can get that, I can understand that. But like Ruby weapons are like, oh yeah, it's a hand purse that I can put things into,
I don't like
but
talking about that.
it's also a minigun.
I don't like talking about that one. How dare you remind me of that abomination?
Personally, my favorite was the coffee cup that turns into an RPG.
Oh, the thermos. It's an RPG. A flame. Oh,
That for some
no,
reason
no,
had.
about the baseball bat that turned into an
Oh yeah,
RPG.
yeah. Also, yeah.
There was the coffee thermos that turned into a flamethrower and a baseball bat, and it could also set things on fire, like
and it,
say a small corgi with
yeah,
apparently with a door unlocked.
yeah. I really don't understand that one because it's like you're drinking coffee out of that, but also simultaneously you have packed explosives into it, and it's like one thing to be like, oh well, the packed explosives are like,
No, he didn't pack explosives into it. It was just
yeah,
a
you did,
flamethrower. No, he didn't.
it runs on fire dust, which is packed explosives.
I much prefer the idea that whatever he's drinking is so high octane it is literally flammable.
That's the secret to Ublex coffee is the excessive amount of fire dust that can be used as an ammunition. Actually, I think someone should go write that as canon, because that actually sounds pretty dope.
Oh my god. Do you want to know what this thing's name is?
What?
Antiquities Roast.
All right, fair enough. I'll give him that.
Yeah, so it could be a
Um,
flamethrower. I forgot it can shoot fireballs. I completely
Yeah,
forgot about that.
that's why I was calling it a rocket launcher.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah. But that's my point, though. Is there's clearly fire dust inside this weapon to allow it to be used as a flamethrower slash fireball rocket.
Yeah. The only real hand waving that happens in Bloodborne's weapons is one the pile bunker into the pizza cutter because they have they have clearly mechanically moving parts.
Yeah.
All the others are very simple. They are telescoping rods.
Honestly,
They are
the least believable weapon, personally for me in Bloodborne, is the hand cannon.
It's not a hand cannon. It's just a cannon.
That's my point. Is they're one-handing a cannon, and personally, that is the least believable part of Bloodborne for me.
I was talking specifically about the mecha shift weapons in terms of functionality. Like, you can look at every single one of the weapons in that game, every single one of the trick weapons,
Yeah.
and say this is the gimmick and this is how you would do it.
Yeah.
The axe gets a little weird because in order for it to do what it does, it has to be a telescoping rod.
Mm-hmm.
That means that there's going to be some structural integrity problems every time you switch it to long
But
pole.
I mean, you can hand wave that away with the whole blood metal thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can wipe that away with fantasy metals, yes.
Yeah.
But like all the others are like, oh, the saw blade. Yeah, no, you look, that's a very simple lock latch. You can
Which
do that
again
easily.
is the biggest problem I have with Ruby's mecha shift weapons. Is that like literally just a throwaway line of like, oh wow, I've never seen a scythe like that before. The blade's really sharp. How do you do it? Oh, well, I use a special, dust steel alloy for it. It's like, oh, okay. Just fucking, alright, boom, done, gone. Don't need to say anything more. Don't need to go into the
You're,
details of it. Just be like, alright, yeah, no, fucking dust, steel, gone.
yeah, you're just bothered that there's nothing explaining that it's fantasy metal.
Yeah, pretty much.
We're just expected to assume it is such, which, to be fair, is a okay way to do it, but sometimes it's
I
okay
mean,
to treat your
it's
audience.
not very consistent with dust because dust is shown to be a highly reactive explosive to even the slightest kinetic force.
Except when it doesn't need to be.
Yeah, except when it doesn't need to be by the plot.
Okay, man, it's 9:30. I gotta
Yeah.
bow out.
Okay,
I got.
well,
I've been lacking in sleep the last couple of days,
that's
so.
fair enough. Yeah, I'll finish up here and sign off.
All right, later. Good luck.
Yeah.
Try not to drink yourself to sleep.
No,
Finishing
I'll
this up.
drink myself to sleep. Don't you worry about that.
All right, 6 hour stream. Look forward to it, guys.
6 hour
Sneaky
stream. Let's go.
later.
Yeah. Good night, Max. All right. It's all me now. It's all on me now. Honestly, I'm not gonna really like stick around too much for myself because yeah, we are going over our time limit that we set for this podcast. So I'm just gonna wrap it up here. Basically, so hunters drop down from a bullhead that he mistakes for another monster, and he notices that they're all female except for Ozpin. And then he tries to poorly describe Team Ruby, and does a really again bad job at it. And then he's just so he's the obvious reference. Did her bow just twitch? So basically, did her bow just twitch? So it's a common Ruby reference trope where the fans really like pointing out that Blake, a person in the main cast, wearing a bow to hide her ears doesn't really make much sense, considering that cat ears are very passively reactive to sounds, so they'd be twitching very often to incoming sounds. Obviously, a bow just moving on its own is kind of really obvious that something is not quite right. Which makes it very poor security to try and hide your ears behind. So all it takes is them going flat to slip out of the bow. Cats do that pretty often. But anyway, so the fandom really likes pointing it out, is what I'm trying to say. So obvious fandom joke. Yeah. Only to stop dead in his tracks when he came face to helmet with the only male of the group. Hello there, he says in a very Obi-Wan fashion. And then he tries making jokes. Where he's like, oh, is there something on my face? Oh, there's totally something on my face, isn't there? I really don't understand why you'd be making jokes in this scenario, but, there he is, making jokes. And he's like, oh, yeah, I can't place your accent. You're not from around here. So this is the other thing, is apparently that Abel, the main character of the Bloodborne side of the story, speaks the same language as the characters from Remnant, which is odd and probably will never be explained. So anyway, he suddenly gets spooked by 5 people approaching him, even though he knew those 5 people were there and approaching him. And anyway, so yeah, he's like panicking over the fact that 6 people showed up. The Hunter's Workshop. Know where this building came from. It wasn't here a few days ago. Anything past this gate belongs to me. What branch do you hail from? Church, Unseen Village, Choir. None of the above. I'm Professor of the Beacon. We just wish to speak to you. Blah blah blah. You should have said you were hunters in the first place. Welcome to my home. Blah 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 blah. So he's gazing at them, and they're gazing at him. And he's like, "Oh, hey, did you evolve? Is your academy to study evolving humans?" And they're like, "Nope, our academy doesn't do that." And he's like, "Alright, doll, it's clear, they're friendly." And then the lifeless doll rose and startled everyone. Getting better every day. Would you guys like a cup of tea? Oh my gosh, I need one right now. Blah blah blah. I need one now. Shouted watching Abel plays most recent acquisition. So apparently Ruby is just utterly shocked and impressed by the burial scythe, which makes no sense because it's literally just a cane that turns into a scythe by placing the scythe blade onto the cane. I don't know why Ruby is freaking out over that. Her weapon is literally just a better version of that in pretty much every single way because it's also a 50 caliber sniper rifle. Also, apparently she had her weapon out. I don't fucking know. I don't care either. Anyway, so Ruby starts poking all the weapons. Blah 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 doll. Blah 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 blah. Blah 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 doll. Blah 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 doll. Blah blah blah. Talking about the doll still and how they're different from everyone else. Is there any reason outside of curiosity that you're here today? Yes. After watching you fight the dozen Ursas, we thought like, hey, we should go check out this guy. So apparently they were spying on him, fighting Ursas, and didn't help him, or I don't know how they were spying on him, being that they're in a bullhead, which isn't exactly quiet. You should come to our academy and learn about the Grim. And he's like, oh, I don't know anything about the Grim. Are you sure I should come to this academy? He's like, yeah, you should totally come to this academy. You're clearly a very good huntsman, and you should totally come to this academy to learn about the Grim and hunt Grim. I obviously didn't want to wake up too close to your school. Well, clearly I don't care about your intentions of waking up close to the school. I'm telling you, you should come to my school. And he's like, alright, well, I should come to your school then. And so they all looked at each other and they're like, yep, school things. Time to school. And he's like, well, if I could just pick up my workshop and move it, I would. I don't want to be here. But, my job's not finished and I'm under a shattered moon. I need to return to Yarnum and kill some things. Can you take me back to Yarnum? And they're like, we've never heard about Yarnum. And we've never heard your accent before, so clearly you're not from around here. So we're just going to instantly believe you that you need to go find this city that we've never heard about, even though we're in an age of information and, you know, near borderline satellite contact with each other. So anyway, I want you to become a student at my school. And he's like, oh, I will only attend combat classes. Only I will attend classes. Doll is not combat oriented, nor will I wear any form of uniform. I have my own uniform that I wear. And if you let me do all this, I promise to attend classes and learn about these Grim. as long as you also allow me to return to my home and not live on campus. Do we have an accord? Well, of course. I'll just let you balk the uniform and balk class attendance and balk living on campus. We'll just let you do everything that everyone else is required to do. Just ignore it all. No regulations for you, no rules for you. We desperately need you to join us because I'm desperate for the main character to join my academy. And he's like, all right, I'm so happy you've agreed to all these conditions. I should have added more, to be honest, as the main character. And then Glinda's like, oh, I should say words. And Ozpin's like, oh, I know Glinda's going to say words. Not now, Glinda. We'll talk more in my office about this mysterious, suspicious character. There we can have a full lore reveal scene about why I just instantly agreed to all of his stipulations about how he can basically flaunt all of the rules, except for the ones that aren't ever explicitly stated. And then they're done, and the Team Ruby's like, why did Ozpin bring us with him to go talk to this guy? And Weiss is like, oh, so it's obvious. We were there to be the age-relevant connection to bridge the gap between us and this random person living in the forest that just randomly appeared. And they're all like, wow. I'm pretty sure we're going to see more of him in the future. Well, considering the fact that Ozpin literally just accepted him into school with you in the same class as you all, yes, I would say that you're probably going to see more of him. That is an incredibly stupid statement to make. Oh wow, I wonder if we're going to see more of this person that's attending all the same classes we are. Truly a mystery of the ages. Anyway, so that wraps up this crossover. I pity everyone that lasted this long because, frankly, this was an incredibly boring story filled with the main character that has a bunch of superpowers beyond the normal Bloodborne ones, and also simultaneously is younger than everyone else, and also just happens to be the age to go to school. I mean, I guess it's better than de-aging the main character, but still it's pretty cringe to be honest. And anyway, I think that about wraps it up. So I'll see everyone on Friday. Everyone that watches this, I guess. All 3 people. I'll see you all on Friday. Unfortunately, there is always more. And it always gets worse.